So by having factories on the moon, building AI satellites, and having a mass driver, which is the kind of thing you really only learn about or read about in science fiction, but we're going to make it real.
I think a mass driver is like a slingshot. It's a way of being able to send stuff into space without having to like fuel it. So like they don't have to manufacture fuel on the moon. They can just have like a spring-loaded slingshot that can shoot satellites off into orbit. So by building and from what I understand, there are resources on the moon. It's rich in titanium. So they should be able to mine the materials that they need in order to build things like solar panels and satellites. And the idea seems to be that they will manufacture these things on the moon and then send them, into orbit around the Earth, um, facilitating the building of these data centers in space, which I think that this is very interesting, and it's part of prophecy, because when the magnetic pole shifts, it talks about the stars of heaven falling to the earth like a fig tree when it is shaken. I don't know if he's going to achieve building the moon base before that happens. I'm kind of the opinion that everything that's in orbit right now is probably part of that prophecy, but it happens twice. There's two times that it's mentioned in the book of Revelation where the earth is shaken and the stars fall. The stars fall to the earth. One is seal number 6, and the other one is bowl number 6, the bowl judgments, which are part of seal number 7. So there's two times that happens. So I'm wondering if he doesn't get if he doesn't get a lot more satellites into orbit, which I believe he just signed. I think he just signed a deal about launching 1 million satellites into orbit. It would not surprise me if those aren't the stars that fall to Earth when it's shaken.
We're actually going to have a mass driver on the moon. And if you do that, you can go several orders of magnitude greater. You can go to 1,000 gigawatts or more per year, and ultimately get to maybe.
So what he's referring to is this started last month, where he started talking about Kardashev civilizations, which is a science fiction writer, I believe, who talks about who puts the evolution of civilization into different levels. The first one is using all the power on Earth. The second one is using all the power in the universe. And then the third level is using all the power in the galaxy, or harnessing it. And that got him thinking about all the difficulties that he has with building these data centers and manufacturing giga manufacturing plants. One of the biggest limiting factors is energy. Even in the data center that he built in 19 days, they use they use gas to fuel the factory, and Donald Trump is also recognized the weakness of our energy grid and has eliminated a lot of the red tape in order to build more energy. It's a huge limiting factor. And because of that, he's realized that it is significantly cheaper to harness the sun, the power of the sun. So by sending satellites, infrastructure into space and using solar panels, they receive sun 24 hours a day because they're always facing the sun. There's no shade in space. And you don't need batteries, so you eliminate 50% of the cost by not having batteries. You just need a solar panel and the computer equipment. And because it's in a vacuum and because it's a set temperature, they can design them in a way that they'll last a very long time. As such, they'll be able to harness more power faster in order to build infrastructure for artificial intelligence.
1,000,000th, and then 1,000th, and maybe even a few percent of the sun's energy. It's difficult to imagine what an intelligence of that scale would think about. Welcome to the XAI all hands. We've got a very exciting presentation for you. We're going to start off by recapping the incredible progress that the XAI team has made in just 2.5 years. It's really remarkable in pursuit of our goal of understanding the universe. So just going over our accomplishments since inception.
That was his time up on the timeline.
Bear in mind that XAI is only 2.5 years old, basically a toddler. And we've nonetheless achieved an incredible amount in a very short period of time. So our competitors are 5, 10, in some cases 20 years old. They have much larger teams. They started off with far more resources, and yet nonetheless, we have achieved #1 in many arenas in just a few years. So we've achieved #1 in voice, in image and video generation. I think we now at this point are actually generating more images and video based on the last numbers I saw than all of our competitors combined. We are winning in terms of forecasting, which is one of the key metrics of intelligence. So the Grok 420 forecasting model beat all the other AIs in forecasting. And we've talked.
Yeah, there is no doubt that Grok is significantly better than all the data models. You should, if you're interested in some funny videos, look up like asking ChatGPT to count without interruption. Those are hilarious. Or there's some other ones like that to where they give the appearance of intelligence, but they're just the dumbest things. And Grok knocks these challenges out of the park. They've definitely done a service to artificial intelligence in the way that they've set up Grok, and its primary focus is maximally truth seeking, which it's still not without its problems. I still, there are still issues in that it will consider that the mass, the majority who agree on something, that means that it's true. I think he needs to fix that before it becomes a problem, because there are a lot of things that the majority believe that are not true. But that I've noticed that is still an issue, to where you can ask it things and you can get to the truth. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get back to Elon.
Many leaderboards. We've got now a great app with Imagine. With the
Imagine is very cool.
We've made radical improvements to the X app, and
so I use Imagine now for thumbnails every day. I don't know if you guys have noticed that the thumbnails they're all generated using Grok, and it used to be that it was terrible with text, but now it's gotten really good with text. And it does. And the reason I use Grok Imagine is because it will generate images of Donald Trump and Elon Musk, where the other models will not. If I wanted to run my own AI locally, I could get it to generate pictures of them, but it's just too much of a pain in the butt. I like Grok Imagine. It does a pretty decent job.
We've launched a Grokipedia, which is on its way to far exceeding Wikipedia, and will ultimately be orders of magnitude more comprehensive and more accurate, and have more information as well as video and image data that simply isn't there on Wikipedia. So it's intended ultimately to be Encyclopedia Galactica, a distillation of all knowledge of all knowledge.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
We're the first to achieve 100,000 H100 GPU training cluster, and we're now about to achieve the first 1 million H100 GPU equivalents.
Wow.
In training. So really an incredible amount of work in a very short period of time.
Extremely short.
It's important to consider competitiveness of any technology company. What matters is not the position at any point in time, but what is your velocity and acceleration. And if you're moving faster than anyone else in any given technology arena, you will be the leader. And XAI is moving faster than any other company.
And with that being said, though, the other companies are moving extremely fast as well. There was Anthropic just released their model, version 4.6, which was able to achieve, when properly orchestrated, they were able to have their AI agents. They had a coordinating agent that was able to manage 50 other agents. They were able to build an app that would have normally taken 5 years to develop. They were able to build it in 2 weeks from beginning to end with zero intervention. It basically built a multi-million dollar company product. It built a product that could be used to start a company, and get millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in funding, and provide a valuable service. That's other companies. Anthropic, another AI company, and Grok and XAI is moving even faster than that.
No one's even close. So let's go to our team. As we grow as a company, a natural thing that happens is you reorganize the company as it scales up. So when you first have a startup, you might have just a few dozen people and they'd all just chat amongst themselves. As you grow to several hundred people, you have to then add more structure, just like an organism that grows from a single, like we all just grew from a single cell and then to a blob of cells, and then you get organ differentiation, limbs, you grow a tail, hopefully the tail disappears, and then you become a baby, you go through these stages. And so we're organizing, because we've reached a certain scale, we're organizing the company to be more effective at this scale. Now, naturally, when this happens, there's some people who are better suited for the early stages of a company and less suited for the later stages. And so, for the people that have departed, I'd just like to say thank you for a contribution. Thank you for getting us this far. And
this is one of the unfortunate realities of startups. I've been a part of multiple startups myself, and usually a company will start with 2 or 3 people. They'll have an idea, they'll work together, and they'll get funding, they'll get customers, they'll add value. Then they need to hire more people, and then they need to start organizing. And it will get to a point to where the original people who started the company just don't have the skills to organize it for the next level. And then there's another level above that. So that's what he's referring to, is they've moved so fast that the original, founders just don't have the skills to keep moving. They need to bring people in who are experts at the other different levels.
And we wish you very well in your future endeavors. So now going on to...
Make no mistake, it's not like they're being fired. They probably have stocks that are worth millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, usually when they leave or when they're replaced.
The new structure of the company is organized in 4 main application areas. There's Grok main and voice, which is really the main Grok model. That's why it's called Grok main. Then there's a coding specific model. There's an image and video model, which is Imagine, and then macro hard, which is intended to do full digital emulation of entire companies. And then we've got the infrastructure layers. With the Grok main, the sort of main foundation model, the intent is that it's genuinely useful in a wide range of areas. So if you're doing engineering or law or medicine, anything, it is useful to you in your job.
And this is just it's not even the beginning. We are well into artificial intelligence replacing, I don't want to say every job, but a lot of jobs. Like lawyers and the people who write their contracts and respond to their emails and double check the law and stuff like that are being replaced by AI. Even engineers. Engineers pretty much don't have to. I'm telling people not to go to college for coding. Do not go to school to learn how to program. It's going to become irrelevant probably by the end of the year. And I'm a software engineer. I've been developing software for 30 years. And I rarely write code, and neither do my colleagues. My colleagues, we basically just direct AI to write code now. And by the end of the year, we probably won't even be doing that. And he talks about it in this presentation.
Essential to understanding the universe and making things as useful as possible. Like when Grok gives you an answer that you can count on it. I think actually things will move, maybe even by the end of this year, to where you don't even bother doing coding. The AI just creates the binary directly.
Yeah.
And the AI can create a much...
I actually predicted that last year, where I said that it's moving so fast that writing code in a language is actually slowing down the artificial intelligence, because the writing code is for people. so that people can read the code. Artificial intelligence doesn't really need to read the code. It just needs to create the binary, and that's what he's saying is it's pretty much just going to generate the artifact that a computer needs to run. It doesn't even need to be legible by a human anymore.
More efficient binary than can be done by any compiler. So just say create optimized binary for this particular outcome, and you actually bypass even traditional coding. There's no that's an intermediate step that actually will not be needed probably by, I'd say, the end of this year.
Yep.
And we do expect Grok code to be state of the art in 2 to 3 months. So it's happening very quickly. Most of AI compute is going to be real-time video understanding and real-time video generation, and we expect to be the leaders in that. It's worth emphasizing.
Yeah. So actors in Hollywood are probably going to be a thing of the past, and entertainment. We even see this with AI slop on the internet, to where entertainment is probably going to be generated on demand with the way that everyone is going, to where TV shows will just be generated, and then movies generated. You'll be able to say, hey, I want to see another, maybe there's a show that's been off the air, maybe a show from your childhood, Matlock. You'll be able to say, generate me the next episode of Matlock, and it can go evaluate all the videos in the series and extrapolate what an episode of Matlock should be like, and it will just generate it, have all the same actors and voices, and you won't even know the difference. That's where they're going. Same thing with movies.
Emphasizing these points that 6 months ago we didn't even have. We had basically nothing or very weak in video and image generation and editing, and we're in 6 months to #1 spot. And in fact, generating more videos and images than everyone else combined. We're going to do the same thing with coding, and we're going to do the same thing with macro hard. And I think people will be pretty impressed with the Grok 4.2 model that's coming out. It's a significant improvement, and that's really just that's the small version of our new model. So we will have a medium and a large version that are even more intelligent. Yeah, the macro hard project is over time actually will probably be our most important project, because what we're talking about is emulation of entire human companies.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the most valuable companies in the world, their output is digital. So they don't actually make hardware. So it should be possible to completely emulate any.
Thankfully, I work for a company that makes hardware, so hopefully my job is safe for another year, but I'm not counting on it. I may start doing YouTube full time. If I go full time, we may need to revisit a different monetization standard because of the way the industry is going. I'm hoping that because my company actually makes hardware, that will withstand a little bit longer than the average company.
Company where the output is digital, and this will usher in an age of prosperity, the likes of which we can barely imagine at this point. You need to imagine to imagine it. So this is a big deal, and this is why the words macro hard are painted on the roof of the training cluster, because that's what it's going to build. So
it's also pretty funny.
Yeah. Meant to be a joke. I'd like to say,
So the joke with macro hard is it's the opposite of Microsoft. Get it? Micro soft, you get little soft, and then macro is big and hard. That's the joke. It's a stab at Microsoft.
We're shifting from using these sort of common internet evals, which I think are actually not a real indicator of usefulness, to having expert tutors in each domain. So every domain of engineering, medicine, law, whatever the case may be. And the actual eval is, does the expert in that arena, or does our group of experts in that arena, human experts, agree that Grok is extremely useful and that the results are correct?
So he had made a comment about replacing entire companies. And this week there was a couple of guys who, I think it was in a single day, replicated all of the features of Monday.com, which took years to develop. Granted, they didn't build it as an enterprise scale software, but they were able to build software that gave them all the features of the company monday.com so that they no longer need monday.com. That's what he's talking about, is you'll be able to generate a company on demand by the end of the year, probably, to where you'll be able to come up with an idea to solve a problem and be able to launch the company on the internet, and AI will just support it. And it'll probably be done in such a way that as you need features, they'll just be added on demand.
That's actually the only eval that really matters. Fundamental to any AI company's success is the compute advantage. And what we've demonstrated over and over again is that XAI can actually deploy more AI compute faster than anyone else.
That's true.
And actually, as Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, has said many times in interviews, there is no one faster at getting AI compute online than XAI.
You know, I wonder if part of this, the acceleration with this, I bet that a lot of the technology and a lot of this stuff withstands the Earth being reverted back. I mean, it could be that you know, when the Earth goes through the magnetic pole shift and the seven bowls and trumpet judgments, it could be that all this stuff is destroyed. But you know, with him building that database, the Grokipedia, the knowledge to build it all again should technically survive. And with everybody being resurrected from the dead, this could be what we are doing, is rebuilding technology and implementing this stuff in the future after Christ comes back. Because we know that there are going to be logistics when Christ comes back and rules and reigns on the earth for 1,000 years, because he, you know, in some of his parables, he talks about rewarding those who did well while he was gone by putting them over cities, putting them in charge of things. So there's definitely going to be logistics. I imagine there's still going to be, I mean, maybe we won't need radio frequencies if we can all communicate telepathically. I have no idea if we'll be able to do that, but I imagine that there will still be a need for technology in the future. Could be wrong, but that could be why all of this is culminating right now, preparing. Matter of fact, there's even there's a scripture in Esdras, I think, that talks about the mountains of gold and lead and mercury are basically mountains of resources that are prepared for the Messiah to build his kingdom. It wouldn't surprise, and a lot of those metals are used within technology. So I imagine technology will still be a part of our future. I hope so, because I really like technology. I love building stuff.
So congratulations, guys. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So that's really phase one, which is 330,000 Grace Blackwells with macro HUD written on the building. That's not an image edit. It actually is on the roof of the building.
Yeah.
And then macro HUD will be the building that you can see, which has got the macro HUD with the rockets on it. And that'll be another 220,000 GB300s.
Wow.
So all of this will be training the models that you experience. So it's absolutely fundamental, obviously, to have large-scale training compute in order to get the best models. Yeah, I'm sort of reminded of the Jose meme, where you see one guy digging and there's like 7 people watching. And one of the big differences between XAI and other companies is we are actually Jose. Yep. And yeah, so we've evolved what used to be the old Twitter DM stack, which was unencrypted, basically just text, to a fully encrypted messaging system that allows you to do audio and video calls. Has all the things you'd want from any messaging app, the disappearing messages, screenshot blocks. Like there's all the features that you'd want in an app. We will be open sourcing the code for this in the next few months.
All right, so he's got Grok News, he's got the X app, he's got X Money. So, I mean, he did invent PayPal, so that makes sense. Grokipedia, Grok Imagine, Grok Search, Grok Recommendations and Ads, Grok Voice, and Grok Chat. Huh.
As we're open sourcing the recommendation algorithm code so people can actually see what we're doing, nothing beats transparency for believing in a company. So we're
a lot of people are afraid that when you release your code that somebody will take that code and replicate your company. Companies are typically made by the people who run them. And it's very hard to replicate teams. So he's proven that it's never really done anything bad for his companies by releasing his patents, because the open sources all of his patents too, the majority of them, so that people can actually replicate the technology. Which just goes to show that he cares more about solving problems than he does making money, and as a result, he just makes boatloads of money.
Going to be the only recommendation algorithm that actually open sources, so you can see what it does and how it's evolving. With Grok Chat, it will also be open source, so you can actually see if there are any vulnerabilities. There will be no hooks for advertising or anything else like that in Grok Chat, which is really intended to be a generalized communication system. And in the next few months, we'll be releasing a standalone XChat app. So if you just...
That is, of course, until you just start generating binaries and nobody has the code anymore. Then we're going to be questioning, what is the AI putting into the binaries? Is it building in backdoors? Maybe we need to keep the language aspect so that we're not building in backdoors.
Just want to do messaging, you can do that. You don't have to go to the core product. And it will have desktop sharing and multi-user, so you can do video calls with lots of people. It's really
taking on Zoom,
a fully functional communication system with XChat. For XMoney, we actually had XMoney live in closed beta within the company, and we expect in the next month or two to go to a limited external beta, and then to go worldwide to all X users.
Wow.
And this is really intended to be the place where all the money is, the central source of all monetary transactions.
Wow.
So it's really going to be a game changer. And the reason we say 1 billion users is
I can hear now all the people who are like, think he's the Antichrist are just chomping at the bit to say, see, he's controlling things. You're not going to be able to buy or sell without using X or XAI or X money or something like that. Well, go do your research on the Little Horn. He's not South African. Little Horn is not South African or Scottish. Elon is South African and Donald Trump is Scottish. So
actually over 1 billion users. Is that while our monthly users are on average around 600 million, the number of people who have the X app installed is well over 1 billion. It's just that most people only occasionally come to the X app when there's some major world event. But as we give people more reasons to use the X app, whether it's for communications, for Grok, or for X money, whatever the case may be, we want it to be such that if you want to, you could live your life on the X app. And as we make it more and more useful, we'll obviously give people reasons, compelling reasons to use the app every day.
Well, he recognizes the danger to people losing their jobs, and he's trying to solve for that problem. He's trying to find a way to make it easy for people to make money.
And have, my expectation is, well over 1 billion daily active users.
He's already increased creator payouts on X. It seems as though one of the things he's going after is YouTube. He's starting to position X as a major competitor to YouTube.
So now, in order to understand the universe, you must explore the universe. There's only so much you can learn from just being on Earth with telescopes and colliders on Earth. Ultimately, you have to go out there and you have to explore the universe to understand it. And that's the motivation behind the combination of SpaceX and XAI, is to accelerate humanity's future in understanding the universe and extending the light of consciousness to the stars. So in the grand scheme of things, when you look at how much energy Earth is actually using for civilization, we're only right now using, quote, roughly 1% of the potential energy of Earth. And if we wanted to use even 1/1,000,000th of the sun's energy, that would be roughly 1,000,000 times more energy than civilization currently uses. The only way to access that energy, the energy of the sun, is to extend beyond Earth. Earth is really a tiny, tiny dust mote in a vast darkness. The sun is 99.8% of all mass in the solar system. So you have to expand beyond the tiny dust mote that is Earth to make any significant dent in using the sun's energy. Like I said, you'd have to expand roughly 1,000,000 times just to get to 1/1,000,000th of our sun's energy, and then going beyond that, exploring, extending to the galaxy, and maybe someday even to other galaxies. So the next step beyond Earth data centers is our Earth orbital data centers. And we'll be launching with SpaceX orbital data centers at the 100 to 200 gigawatt per year level. Not cumulative, I mean per year. And ultimately, we see a path to maybe launching as much as a terawatt per year of compute from Earth. What if you want to go beyond a mere terawatt per year? In order to do that, you have to go to the moon. So by having factories on the moon, building AI satellites, and having a mass driver, which is the kind of thing you really only learn about or read about in science fiction, but we're going to make it real. We're actually going to have a mass driver on the moon. And if you do that, you can go several orders of magnitude greater. You can go to 1,000 gigawatts or more per year, and ultimately get to maybe.
And so what he means by the power is he's not talking about sending the power to Earth. He's talking about using the power to operate technology. So right now, when you build a data center, you have to power it off of the grid, or you have to use some kind of a solution to generate electricity so that the data centers and stuff like that can work. The robots in the factories can work. And by moving the stuff that doesn't need to be on the planet into outer space, you can use power to operate data centers. You can send computers into outer space that can use the sun for the energy to work, and then using lasers, you can make that information accessible on the planet. So they can use. I mean, he's already proven the technology works with Starlink, to where everybody's getting satellites in order to access the internet, satellite dishes in order to access the internet. Well, they can make connections to the planet using lasers, so that we have high-speed access to what it is that the data centers in space are using. So when he talks about generating large sums of power, it's towards that end, and also generating power on the moon for manufacturing that needs to build something physical.
A millionth, and then 1,000th, and maybe even.
Are you saying the SAVE Act passed, Fury? You said voter ID passed. That's amazing if it did.
A few percent of the sun's energy. It's difficult to imagine what an intelligence of that scale would think about, but it's going to be incredibly exciting to see it happen. I really want to see the mass driver on the moon that is shooting AI satellites into deep space. It's going like shoom, shoom, just one after the other. I can't imagine anything more epic than a mass driver on the moon and a self-sustaining city on the moon, and then going beyond the moon to Mars.
That's the Slingshot.
Throughout our solar system. And
that's that mass driver, the Slingshot. So basically, it's got a bucket right here, and then you pull it back here. You put whatever you want to launch into that bucket, and then it stores up energy, and then like a slingshot, it's released, and then it slides along this rail, and then it stops at the end, and whatever's in that bucket gets slung out into space.
Ultimately, being out there among the stars and visiting all these star systems. Maybe we'll meet aliens. Maybe we'll see some civilizations that lasted for millions of years, and we'll find the remnants of ancient alien civilizations. But the only way we're going to do that is if we go out there and we explore. And this is the path to making it happen.
Cool.
Thank you.
There you go. That's your technology update. That pretty much sets the what you can expect in the future. Like we're early. We are very early in 2026. We're just in February, month number 2. But we've got some interesting things on the timeline. Potentially the start of the Great Tribulation in just 6 days. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but it seems like it's definitely involves Iran. So we can see the chessboard being set up. And I imagine it's probably going to, it makes sense that it would be part of, for when they say peace and safety. Because right now there's just a lot of unknowns from countries all around the world. But it looks like Iran is going to be defeated. That fulfills prophecy in the scripture. It could lead to the war of Gog and Magog if we're not already in the Gog and Magog war. So now's the time to prepare. You know, with all the exciting things with technology, there's risk at risk of a lot of people losing their jobs and losing their income. That can be part of the Great Tribulation as well. If there's, if companies are laying off people in mass because they can replace them with a computer, that's going to be a problem. Plus, we've got, potential for conflicts around the world. That's going to be a problem. And then on top of that, coming up in August, potentially the rotation of the planet. The magnetic pole shift, if you will. All right. Well, we got a few more minutes. What do you guys want to talk about? I noticed there were some heated conversations going on in the chat during the show. You guys want to cover anything? Any questions? Put a Q in front. Well, nobody's really chatting, so you can just ask a question right now if you want. So the SAVE Act got passed, and it's been sent to the Senate tonight. It sounded like they were pretty close to having the votes they need in the Senate to pass it. I wonder if the Democrats aren't realizing that they're not jumping ship because of Trump's wild success, and they're tired of losing. So maybe they're going to give up on the whole illegal immigrant thing. Maybe it's time, especially with the start of the Great Tribulation. Like we may be coming to the head of whatever that set up. I'm of the opinion that the reason Biden opened the borders was so that he can allow a mass invasion of our country. Trump's only able to get out less than 1 million people a year. And during the Biden administration, there's potentially 15 to 20 million people who came into the country illegally. They could be, they could be. Okay. We know that many countries opened up their prisons and sent murderers and rapists and terrible people here. So they could still be here. That's part of the drama with ICE is Trump was surging ICE agents into various cities in order to find the murderers and the rapists and the worst of the worst and get them out of here. But there are still millions, potentially more. And it may be they might be involved in whatever kicks off in February. It could all be hinging. There could be a linchpin moment, and it very likely looks like it has to deal with Iran. Iran seems to be a linchpin to where when Iran falls, when the Ayatollah falls, that seems to be a trigger point. And I don't know what it is, When I think about it and when I go through the logistics of what the worst possible thing could be, there's been some pretty bad things that have happened on the planet. I mean, there's been wars that lasted 30 years and killed 100 million people. So if it's worse than that, my mind goes towards nuclear. It seems like it's nuclear. But there's very little indication about nuclear attacks in the scripture. There is one, and it's actually around the Gog and Magog war in Ezekiel 38, where it talks about specialists are needed to go in and mark bodies, and there's the possibility that that's referring to nuclear specialists who are going in and marking radioactive areas. So there is a little bit indicative. Also, Zechariah 5, when it talks about the woman in the basket being wickedness, there's indications that could be nuclear war. That might be something worth reading. Let's go look at that. Zechariah 5. Oh, good questions are coming in. could you talk more about 3i Atlas and how it might tie in? Yeah, so 3i Atlas has been traveling towards our solar system for almost 50 years. We're able to track back its trajectory to a place where we received a signal that seemed to have intelligence associated with it. It was called the wow signal. And the reason why it's called the wow signal is because it was broadcasting, I think, the Fibonacci sequence, 3, 5, 7, or whatever the Fibonacci sequence is. I always forget it. I should know as an engineer. It's like one of the top engineering questions. But basically, you take the current number and then the next number, and you add them together to get the next number. That's the Fibonacci sequence. So it had broadcasted the Fibonacci sequence. And so that was like 50 years ago in like 1977. So not 50 years, just under 50 years ago. And that was 49 years ago. And so that is what really kind of has our attention with 3i Atlas, is that when it first came on our radar, it's associated with the freaking Fibonacci sequence, which is an indication of intelligence, because we just don't see radio signals like that have a structure. That's the typical structure that you would use to indicate intelligence to another civilization. So anyway, we've tracked it traveling into our solar system. So it came from another solar system. It's come into our solar system, and the timing of it swinging by the sun and going close to Earth right now during this time where all of these prophetic events are happening. We've got seals that have been opened, events that match biblical scripture and prophecies. And then we've got this, we know it's not a meteor. There's more than 20 there's more than 20 anomalies with the object that indicate that it's potentially technology. And, so as being technology, and it did a flyby of Earth, it's kind of gone up and hung around Jupiter, which has tie-ins with Yeshua, with Jesus, the Son of God. So that's where we're at. And the last I checked is there were some photos from NASA that they were able to enhance that further solidified that it's not a meteor, that it has to be something metallic. So we're thinking that it's potentially some kind of a spaceship, which the fact that Jesus comes in the clouds with great power and great glory, you have to wonder, is Jesus going to show up in a spaceship? Since talking about this, we have learned from Rabbi Tovia Singer that that reference to show up to appear in the clouds is a reference to the Day of Atonement, I believe, or the festival of Festival of Tabernacles, where God tabernacles amongst us. Which could be which is in the August-September time of the month. I think it's in September, the Festival of Tabernacles. But so there's a weird link there with that. So I haven't checked in a couple of days on what the status of 3i Atlas is, but that's kind of the history of everything so far. Last I checked, they're still of the opinion that it is not a meteor, that it is an interstellar object that is likely technological in origin. There are many who think that it's a fleet of ships, actually. Let's see. Fury says the drones were from Mexico. The groups down there don't know if I will be censored if I say it. Okay. What if prophecies aren't right and this is just the result of bad politicians? There are so many things that have happened that line up with the Bible. I mean, I've gotten things wrong before, but I'm a first principles approach type of a person. If you don't know what that means that you distill things down into their simplest form, and you separate the factual information from the assumptions. And that's how you draw your conclusions. Well, we have so many things in the factual category that it's almost beyond question. I mean, it's ridiculous how many things have lined up. This isn't even half of it. Like this only represents like a percentage of the information of things that have lined up scripturally. The most impressive one is the Revelation 12 sign. This sign happened on September 23rd, 2017. This and a lot of people will argue saying that sign happens all the time. Well, it doesn't. We've looked at them. Look, we've looked at every single sign that happens. And while they're similar, they're all missing elements of that particular sign. The only one that comes close is this one right here, the one that happened on 439 AD, where you've got the Virgo closed with the sun, moon under her feet, Virgo. I don't know if it's in retrograde. And then you have kind of a crown of 12 stars up here. But the planet is not fully in Leo. And also, this doesn't happen on the day of Festival of Trumpets. This one actually happened on the Festival of Trumpets. This sign happened on an appointed time, the Festival of Trumpets. So there's a strong indication that this is an anchor point that links the book of Revelation to our day and time. And then from there's been a bunch of things that line up with Scripture. So it's possible that I've got the stuff wrong, but the data suggests that it suggests a lot of things. It suggests the Bible is true, that God is real, that Jesus is his son, that he's alive, and that he's going to return. And also, we know the future. If this actually is an event, so February 17th, so based on the pattern of the data, the things that have happened, it's pointing to February 17th, 2026. And that's because of eclipses. So there were eclipses in all these days where significant events happened. So one of the next things to happen is the Great Tribulation, and for when they say peace and safety. So whatever happens on the 17th is going to be very telling, very indicative of what the rest of the year is going to be like, I think. If nothing happens, if things stay relatively peaceful and Trump, maybe Trump goes in, gets the Ayatollah in the same way that he got Maduro, and then is able to put a government in place in Iran to bring peace. Because right now they're killing people left and right, hand over fist. I heard a number recently that it's 4 times more than what we've been told. So, I mean, that's going to happen in a couple of days. I don't think it's any coincidence that we're kind of in this limbo right before an eclipse, which matches seal number 5. So we'll see. I could be wrong. I mean, that's the whole point of this channel, is we're observers here. As my name implies, we're watchful. And that's the whole objective, is to watch. We're watching this clip from the Two Witnesses live. Join us Monday through Friday at 4:30. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all there.